Dark Prince. Those two words alone still send chills down the spines of even the bravest Clash Royale warriors. An enigmatic figure who emerged from the shadows to forever change the course of the game. While the Dark Prince's dominance seemed to fade at times, lost amidst the endless battles and evolving meta, he was never truly a forgotten legend.
Oh my goodness! Yo, Dark Prince, you are coming!
Yet, despite the prince's enduring presence and the waves of popularity he's ridden over the years, his deeper origins and transformative journey have remained shrouded in mystery to all but a few.
For micro-interactions, the Dark Prince went on a rampage. He's literally everywhere.
To the vast majority of Clash Royale's players, the Dark Prince is simply an established force to be reckoned with in the here and now, his storied descent to legendary status having been largely lost to the sands of time. But what if the truth was more than just a forgotten tale? What if the Dark Prince's story held the key to understanding the very essence of the game itself? Get ready to delve into the forgotten history of the Dark Prince, from his humble beginnings to his meteoric rise and the cataclysmic events that led to his transformation. This is a story that will captivate your imagination and challenge everything you thought you knew about Clash Royale.
A troop spotlight on probably the coolest troop coming out, the Dark Prince.
The Dark Prince's arrival sparked intense speculation and discussion among the Clash Royale community. Fans eagerly theorized about his potential connections to other characters in the game, leading to intriguing storylines and backstories. As the theories swirled, a surprising revelation came to light. The prince was not merely a rival, but the long-lost brother of the Dark Prince himself. However, one burning question remained unanswered. What was the Dark Prince's actual name? In the absence of official information, the resourceful community on Reddit took it upon themselves to propose potential names for the Dark Prince. Among the numerous suggestions, one name stood out as a popular choice: Dave. Many users agreed that the name Dave had a certain ring to it, perfectly capturing the Dark Prince's aura of mystery and brooding demeanor. Simple, yet fitting. It seemed to resonate with the character's dark allure. Interestingly, the Dark Prince seems to face a lot of humiliation in the Clash-O-Rama animated series. It's almost as if the creators delight in his animated suffering.
Stop! Stop! Make it stop! Story!
Interestingly enough, the Royal Recruits card description hints these 7 spear wielders may one day be promoted to become the feared Dark Princes themselves. On the other hand, the prince also deserves some appreciation for his strong synergy with his brother, the Dark Prince, in battles. Their combined abilities make them a formidable duo. Interestingly, the Clash-O-Rama episode, Donnie and the Spell Factory, reveals the prince was likely promoted from the Knight card, as we see him briefly unhelmed.
Battle time!
Another interesting detail is that both the prince and the Dark Prince seem to ride the same pony. Interestingly, this pony also appears to pull the caravan for Clash games into the Clash of Clans game. That's quite a hard-working horse. These little connections between characters across different Clash games hint that this unassuming pony may play a bigger role in the overall Clash universe than we initially thought. For those eager to learn more fascinating details and uncover the mysteries of the Clash world, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I'm dedicated to carefully researching and sharing little-known facts that even die-hard fans might miss. Additionally, if you'd like to join a friendly community of fellow Clashers, feel free to check my Discord server linked in the description down below. You can join my clan, play games together, or simply hang out and discuss all things Clash-related. Now, the moment you have been waiting for, the unveiling of the Dark Prince's shrouded past. But I must warn you, this tale is not for the faint of heart. Prepare to be shocked, intrigued, and left craving for more. The Dark Prince made his ominous debut in Clash Royale on February 29th, 2016, immediately leaving an impact on the arena. His foreboding presence was further emphasized in certain language settings of the game. In Arabic and Portuguese, his name directly translates to the chilling Prince of Darkness, while in Malaysian, He's known as the Prince of Evil. Upon charging into the battle, the Dark Prince would let out a guttural attack or charge! Attack! Charge! But what truly set the Dark Prince apart was his unique shield mechanic. A first for Clash Royale at the time, as cards like the Royal Recruits, Guards, and Cannon card had not yet been introduced. This ability allowed him to withstand more damage, providing incredible value for his elixir cost and making him a force to be reckoned with in both offensive and defensive strategies. Players quickly recognized the Dark Prince's versatility and potential, eagerly incorporating him into their decks and exploring the depths of his capabilities. The Dark Prince's arrival had a seismic impact on the meta, particularly in Hog Rider decks. His ability to swiftly eliminate defensive buildings and support troops like goblins and barbarians, which were immensely popular at the time, made him an invaluable asset. As we can see in this replay, the opponent seamlessly combines the Dark Prince behind the Hog Rider, creating a devastating offensive force. The Dark Prince makes short work of the Tesla, allowing the Hog Rider to barrel towards the tower unimpaired, while also clearing out goblins. This lethal combo results in significant damage to the Princess Tower. Before the introduction of the Ice Golem, dealing with swarm cards was a persistent challenge. However, the Dark Prince's arrival proved the perfect solution, allowing players to effectively counter these pesky units. Renowned player Molt showcased the exceptional synergy between the Hog Rider, Dark Prince, and his brother the Prince. This trio proved to be a formidable combination, catching opponents off guard with their relentless and efficient tower damage. While players explored various deck archetypes incorporating the Dark Prince, one particular combination stood out above the rest: the legendary P.E.K.K.A. Double Prince meta deck.
This is our godly push. OP deck! Level 6 P.E.K.K.A.
The P.E.K.K.A. Double Prince deck quickly rose to legendary status, renowned for its staggering damage output and formidable defensive capabilities. This potent combination of the P.E.K.K.A., Dark Prince, and Prince formed an overwhelming trio that could swiftly overwhelm opponents and secure victories.
And since this, I'm on an epic streak for me of 6-3 crowns in a row.
It works really, really well. I've been crushing it with it.
He's showing you guys a deck that I see a lot at the top, and it works really well. And you can see he overcommitted to the right-hand side, so instantly I double draft the Prince as well as the Dark Prince.
For an extended period, this deck remained a dominant force in the meta, asserting its power in both competitive tournaments and ladder matches alike. Its versatility and ability to counter a wide range of strategies made it a popular choice among skilled players striving to climb the ranks. However, the Dark Prince's reign was not without its challenges. By the end of March, a balance update decreased his charge speed from 138 to 120, a 12% reduction. While this nerf aimed to rein in his power, the Dark Prince's core abilities remained a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Just a month later, in April, an intriguing event at the Helsinki tournament sparked widespread curiosity and speculation. Attendees received physical Clash Royale cards, but peculiarly, the Dark Prince's card held a common rarity instead of its expected epic status.
The Dark Prince is a common card in this deck. Might that be a sign that the Dark Prince is going to be a common card after this update?
This unexpected rarity discrepancy fueled speculation among players. Was this a sign that the Dark Prince would be downgraded from an epic to a common rarity in an upcoming update? Personally, I believe a transition to common rarity could potentially shake up the game's dynamics and make the Dark Prince more accessible to a wider player base. It would certainly be intriguing to witness how such a change might impact gameplay strategies and deck compositions across all skill levels. Regardless of his rarity, the Dark Prince's popularity continued to soar as players found greater success incorporating him into their decks. However, the arrival of threats like the Lava Hound and the Lumberjack presented new challenges for Dark Prince decks. As the meta shifted towards more aggressive archetypes with Lava Loon decks reigning supreme, the Dark Prince struggled to maintain his dominance on the battlefield. Many players opted to substitute the Valkyrie for improved swarm control, as her slower movement allowed her to linger and clear out multiple waves of smaller troops efficiently. The Valkyrie's earlier buffs, granting her a 10% increase in damage and health, only solidified her status as a formidable swarm counter. A glance at the June card rankings among the top 100 players reveals the Valkyrie's enduring popularity, securing the 14th spot out of 54 cards. The Valkyrie seeing more and more play after the recent buffs. The Dark Prince was still a popular card, ranking 29th out of the 54 cards in the game among top players. However, he was no longer as powerful as it used to be. The most used cards were the Cannon, Elixir Collector, and a Zap spell. However, the Dark Prince regained strength with substantial damage increases in July, 8%, and August, 7.5% respectively, boosting his damage by 15.5% overall, and reinstating his dominance. One of the best new decks was the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Double Prince deck.
Probably the best double prince deck out there in my opinion. The problem with the P.E.K.K.A. is it's too slow, and you need a fast-paced deck to succeed in tournaments. And now we're gonna use the Dark Prince. The Dark Prince is a very good counter to the normal Prince. Okay, right here, we're gonna use the Goblins, pull in those Barbarians, and then we're also gonna use another Princess. There we go. Our Dark Prince over there is gonna take the tower.
As faster, more aggressive decks became popular, players started using the two princes together with the Lumberjack. This combined deck was very strong against many other decks. Players liked using it because it had both speed and power.
Solid push. Now, of course, the bowler does not knock back those princes. P.E.K.K.A. that's going to die after maybe one hit on the tower on the right, but take a look at his tower. He has no elixir to defend against this push. He plays some goblins, and I'm not sure why my Dark Prince isn't killing those goblins with his AoE.
But this new deck was just the start. The next new deck combination was probably one of the most disliked decks of all. Surprisingly, a unique Balloon Freeze deck featuring the Dark Prince caught many off guard with its potent offense.
And this powerful combination should allow me to get to his tower, but he's gonna play smart this time, and he's gonna play his Fire Spirits on my minions, but nevertheless, it's not gonna stop this combination.
Then players started using another strange deck with the two princes and Sparky, but no big tank troop like a giant. Even without a main win condition, this deck could still win matches. It overwhelmed opponents with the huge splash damage from the princes and Sparky working together. This showed that in Clash Royale, being creative with your card combos can lead to victories in new ways. Yet by year's end, even his substantial damage buff couldn't sustain the Dark Prince's popularity for long in the evolving meta. The biggest issue was the game-changing Mega Minion. The Mega Minion was an extremely strong card when it was released, with high hit points that let it survive most spells, a much faster attack speed than it has now, and higher damage. It could take out any ground troop very easily. For this reason, the Dark Prince started becoming less and less popular. Players favored using the powerful Mega Minion instead because it was so versatile and strong. The meta shifted to decks that could counter the Mega Minion effectively, leaving the Dark Prince struggling to fit into new strategies that players were using. The Mega Minion completely changed how many decks were built. It provided great defense and could support counter pushes really well. Its versatility and strength made it a core card in lots of the best deck strategies during that period. Woody is a dedicated Clash Royale player who recorded and analyzed top 100 player matches every month from 2016 to 2017.
Alright guys, here I am joined by the Sultan of Stats himself, none other than Woody.
So at the conclusion of each season in the game, I look at all the decks being used at the top and record all the cards that are being used, which ones are being used with each other.
His hard work analyzing the meta makes researching deck trends much easier, so thank you. Now, if we look at one of Woody's snapshots showing how popular each card was, we can clearly see just how dominant the Mega Minion was back then. Just take a look at this. Mega Minion has surged to the top of the popularity rankings as the most popular support troop by far. Now let's take a look at the most popular decks. Golem Beatdown, Mega Minion. Lava Hound Beatdown, Mega Minion. Expo Siege, Mega Minion. And Hog Rider Control, Mega Minion. Looking at Woody's data, we can see the Mega Minion sitting at the very top with an insane 86% usage among top players. And that's absolutely wild. But if we check the most used cards section, we also see the Tombstone at 56% and Ice Golem at 32%. These cards were amazing counters to the Dark Prince, so there's no surprise he had a 0% usage rate at that time. A 0% usage rate for a card that was so strong not so long ago is just kinda crazy to think about. The meta had dramatically shifted in such a short period, showing how just one new card release can completely shake up the landscape. So with that crazy Mega Minion dominated meta leaving devastation in its wake, all eyes turned to 2017, a year that would witness the Dark Prince's tragic descent into utter irrelevance within the Clash Royale universe. 2017 brought massive challenges for the Dark Prince. With so many other new cards dominating the meta, he really struggled to find a role in the game. In fact, in a video from player Havoc discussing the worst cards at that time, the Dark Prince was ranked second worst.
It's going to be the Dark Prince. Now don't get me wrong, there was a time when the Dark Prince was very OP, and it was when everyone was using the Double Prince and P.E.K.K.A deck. Remember that? Yeah, me too.
Despite being overshadowed, some dedicated players never abandoned or betrayed their beloved Dark Prince. You could still occasionally spot him making rare appearances in arenas and battles. While not common, especially in top ladder gameplay, my extremely good searching skills did uncover one player who was able to dominate using a heavy beatdown deck that included the Dark Prince alongside Golem and Balloon. In the hands of a master, this unconventional deck unveiled the Dark Prince's latent power. It just goes to show that with enough dedication, any card can be a game changer in Clash Royale. Thankfully, Supercell recognized the Dark Prince had basically vanished from the meta, so in the February balance update, they gave him a 5% hit point increase, providing a glimmer of hope. Yet the modest 5% hit point buff did little to resurrect the Dark Prince's dwindling presence that year. In April, a tongue-in-cheek petition was launched to further buff the Dark Prince, but it only received 7 supporters. The Dark Prince isn't dank enough. He needs a buff. It was clear that a dedicated fanbase believed in this card's potential and eagerly awaited a more significant buff to make him viable again. Unfortunately, the petition didn't spark any actual balance changes, and the Dark Prince remained untouched and neglected. Looking at card usage snapshots from February 2017, the Dark Prince was used only once across the top 100 matches, and he clung to that same negligible 1% usage in the following weeks and months as 2017 progressed. As battles raged on in Clash Royale, the once noble Dark Prince remained hidden away, a forgotten hero of the past. But something seemed to be brewing in the shadows. Whispers and rumors about his potential return, stronger than ever before, began circulating among loyalists. And then, like a bolt of lightning from the clear blue sky, the game abruptly changed once more.
The Dank Prince is beefier. His damage is increasing by 6%, and his hit speed will be faster, 1.4 seconds from 1.5 seconds. This is a 15% increase in DPS.
One of the first decks to gain popularity showcasing the reworked Dark Prince was the classic Golem beatdown archetype. This heavy-hitting combo proved particularly effective at utilizing his increased damage and faster attack speed, leading to a surge in usage among top players. For more casual players, a Dark Prince Pump Musk deck also rose to prominence. One skilled player, named 0 Hour, even dominated multiple tournaments with this fresh strategy, showcasing impressive gameplay for 2017 when the meta was still being solved. This deck combination brought an entirely new dynamic, catching many opponents off guard and creating unexpected comeback victories. The Dark Prince's versatility allowed him to make consistent impacts on the evolving meta as players experimented. Looking at Woody's card usage snapshot from September, after months of irrelevance, the Dark Prince could finally be seen slowly rising from the ashes with a 4% usage rate across 200 analyzed decks. The long-awaited balance changes had awakened the Prince from his long slumber, and this was only the beginning of his journey back to relevance. 2018 would be the year marking the Dark Prince's ultimate ascension. In February of 2018, a huge update gave the Dark Prince a massive power boost. The once underrated Prince had spectacularly risen again. His health went up 5%, his attack speed got much faster at 1.3 seconds, and most importantly, his very first attack at only 0.4 seconds. His status was forever transformed by these game-changing buffs. One such unstoppable deck was the Golem Beatdown, featuring Dark Prince, Mega Minion, and Tornado. Together they formed a crazy strong push that was extremely difficult for opponents to stop. As this deck dominated at higher levels, it proved once and for all that the Dark Prince had transformed into an essential, game-changing force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. The Dark Prince's awesome power level also sparked a huge comeback for the classic Double Prince combo deck. The synergy between the newly buffed Dark Prince and his brother, the Prince proved to be an absolutely overwhelming force. Opponents struggled to handle their combined strength and fierce speed. This resurgence of the iconic Double Prince duo further showcased just how dominant the Dark Prince had become in battles across Clash Royale. The undeniable proof was in Woody's March card popularity snapshot. The Dark Prince pranced to the top, bolstered by dual hit speed and hit point buffs that left the Valkyrie in the dust. He became the preferred striker for beatdown decks, which nearly doubled in usage last season. These stats quantified how extremely impactful and effective the Dark Prince had become. Just look at the top deck archetypes and appearances. Giant Beatdown, 37 appearances, had the Dark Prince. Golem Beatdown, 18, also Dark Prince. P.E.K.K.A. Control, 11. Three Musketeer Beatdown, 8, Dark Prince and Battle Ram Bridge Spam. Once again, Dark Prince. The Dark Prince was absolutely instrumental in the most dominant meta decks at that time. Scroll down further and you'll see that the Dark Prince earned the number 6 spot among the very best cards, being used by 70 of the top 200 players, a whopping 35% usage rate. But this was only the start of his reign over the competitive scene. The classic Double Prince combo featuring Giant became popular in high ladder matches and tournaments. One of the best players in the world, Surgical Goblin, dominated the meta with this very Giant Double Prince beatdown deck on his way to becoming a recognized top pro that season. However, one intriguing adaptation that caught my eye was Logbait players actually swapping out Knight for the newly buffed Dark Prince in their decks. This surprising change seemed to be quite an effective counter strategy against the ever-present Double Prince beating down the meta. I noticed this stat when looking at a Screenshot Royale API shared on their Facebook page in March of 2018, highlighting the most popular Grand Challenge decks from the previous 7 days. One Logbait variant featuring Dark Prince was used by a staggering 3,300 players, combined across wins, losses, and draws. With an impressive 72% win rate, it proved to be one of the most effective decks in countering the current meta. Intrigued, I dug deeper to find gameplay footage analyzing this Dark Prince Logbait deck in action. A video from Surtag in April broke down the deck's synergies and strengths at countering top meta threats. Surtag impressed by clearly explaining the strategic rationale behind each card choice and how to best utilize their strengths across different situations. It was an insightful showcase of the deck's viability. On the other side, the classic Giant Double Prince deck continued to be extremely dominating as well. Royale API stats showed that it was played by over 8,200 players in Grand Challenges over that same 7-day span. And wow, looking at these stats for Dark Prince in April of 2018 is pretty crazy. This screenshot shows the Dark Prince boasted the highest win rate of 73.3% in Grand Challenges. For usage rates in Grand Challenges, he was the 6th most used card at 28.9%, but for the top professional players, it was a totally different story. In Woody's hugely respected meta report from April, the Dark Prince got even more popular. The Dark Prince was a core part of many of the most used decks like Battle Ram Bridge Spam. His ability to be great on offense and defense made him a must-have in pro players' decks. So with that being said, let's take a look at his usage rate ranking. Dark Prince was the 3rd most used card, only behind Zap and Ice Golem. He was included in 89 out of the top 200 pro player decks analyzed. That's a massive 45% usage rate among the best players. Crazy compared to the year before when he had a 1% usage. So April 2018 was one of the biggest, most popular months ever for the Dark Prince. His rise was pretty much unimaginable. But believe it or not, there was one other year where he was even more popular than 45% usage among pros. We'll get to that insane year later though. For now, just know this is gonna be a wild story. Anyway, with his high usage rate and effectiveness across so many top player decks, the Dark Prince had truly solidified his place as one of the most dominant cards in the current meta. Through researching gameplay footage, I stumbled upon a smaller YouTuber who revealed an insightful find. He actually shared a screenshot revealing the single most popular Grand Challenge deck at that time. It was a Three Musketeers variation, packing the Dark Prince, Miner, and the classic Elixir Pump. Surprisingly, this deck seemed less prevalent among pro players compared to the dominant archetypes at the top ladder level. But the synergy between Three Muskies, the newly reworked Prince, Miner's chip damage, really resonated really well with free-to-play players looking to climb Grand Challenges. However, as we all know, all good things must come to an end eventually, right? Well, not so fast for the unstoppable Dark Prince's supremacy. Even though he received a nerf with April's balance update, decreasing the Dark Prince's shield hit points by 25%.
Shield hit points nerfed by 25%! Whoa!
And then another in June, increasing his charge distance to a longer 3.5 tiles, he never vanished from prominence. Players never abandoned him, never betrayed their loyalty like they had back in 2017's darker days. Pun intended. These two nerfs meant nothing. Players seamlessly found new ways to incorporate the Dark Prince's unique strengths into their evolving strategies, proving he was far too valuable to ever be forgotten or really cast aside. The proof was visible in yet another of Woody's prestigious meta snapshots. Mega Minion was the most valuable troop this month with an impressive surge in usage higher than any other card. He toppled the Dark Prince from his throne, though the recently nerfed Charger remains a top-tier card in competitive play. Even after the nerfs, look at the Dark Prince's unshakable presence among the top 200 competitors, securing 68 appearances for 6th place overall usage at a towering 33%, just a 12% drop-off from his previous 45% peak. This showed the Dark Prince was still an absolutely crucial and dominant force in Clash Royale that not even balance adjustments could dethrone. Additionally, with new swarm cards like Royal Recruits and Royal Hogs introduced in June, the Dark Prince's unique strengths as an area denial mini-tank became immensely valuable once again. It's no surprise that classic giant double Prince decks started exploding in popularity and traction across the meta yet again. Tag himself even won a Grand Challenge Showdown, showcasing this archetypal Dark Prince beatdown. His success highlighted the Prince's remarkable resilience and resurgence at the highest level despite the nerfs. And with that comeback in mind, we've turned our sights towards 2019, a year where the Immortal Dark Prince would continue shining as brilliantly as an arena diamond. If you thought the Dark Prince's reign couldn't get any more dominant, just wait until May.
Dark Prince is getting a buff to his range by 20%. This is a very subtle change and makes his wacky stick weapon extend slightly further. This is actually similar to the Miner's full reach as well now. Another buff to the Dark Prince is that they're increasing his splash radius, so every time you see him swing onto enemies, you can see the impact of the circle. This radius is now 25% larger and will have immediate impact on how he counters swarm units dropped near him. An interesting thing to note about the mechanic of this is that when you place units on top of the Dark Prince, he attacks in the center, which effectively gives him a 360 splash radius. So this radius will significantly wreck Skarmy planted on top of
This buff made an already versatile threat even more powerful across various matchups. Players wasted no time adapting, quickly incorporating the upgraded Prince into their fresh decks with overwhelming success. One of the very best new decks to emerge was Golem Beatdown, using the newly enhanced Dark Prince alongside Mega Minion and Electro Dragon. This combo proved to be an utterly dominant force taking over the meta.
You're here with the Dark Prince as well. Log comes down. I don't think that's going to be enough here. NATO comes down. Dark Prince takes care of those skeletons with ease, and now another Lumberjack and Mega Minion push in the right lane. 17 seconds remaining here.
The improved range and area allowed the Prince to provide support for the unstoppable Golem push, while still swatting away swarming defenses with ease. For players looking to climb the ranks and dominate tournaments in 2019, this Golem Prince deck became a hugely popular choice, but it was far from the only archetype to find new life thanks to the Prince's buffs. Among P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam enthusiasts, the vast majority swapped out Royal Ghost for the bolstered area control of the deadlier Prince.
I think I would. Let's see what he does. He goes Dark Prince. There's the P.E.K.K.A., just like we called it, guys. A P.E.K.K.A., a baby dragon, and a Dark Prince. Dark Prince gonna one-shot those archers. Lightning comes down. P.E.K.K.A.'s gonna go ahead and just avoid that tower. Bandit gets a charge off on that mini P.E.K.K.A. Baby Dragon, Dark Prince. How is he gonna stop this push? That's what I want to ask, guys. Baby Dragon stays alive with that timely poison there by Elsiop. Look at this. Snowball finally comes down here. Again, the poison's gonna go ahead and take out those bats. We have a P.E.K.K.A., a Dark Prince.
Yet what really surprised me was the Prince's seamless blending into the log bait archetype with innovative decks like this one. He provided awesome synergy with Goblin Barrel, a brilliant defensive option that could then punish with beastly offensive pushes. This unique blend of control and beatdown stumped opponents and further fueled Logbait's resurgence.
I'm gonna go for a Dark Prince right in front. Maybe we can just win the game right here and now. Guys, this is crazy. That's wild. Dominance is being asserted right here, right now, and you guys can't unsee it. It's crazy. All right, if we're a baller, we hit everything. Are we a baller? Oh! Let's go.
However, Supercell knew they had to address the prince's runaway dominance eventually. So, after an extensive period of unchallenged supremacy, the time finally came for his first nerf in ages. In July, a new balance update landed.
The Dark Prince is going from a 1.25 tile range to a 1.2 tile range, and similarly, his area damage splash radius is going from 1.25 tiles to 1.2 tiles.
This was just a tiny trim to his overwhelming might. A feeble nerf didn't even scratch the surface of impacting the Immortal Prince's dominant performance. The proof was undeniable. The Dark Prince remained one of the absolute best cards in Clash Royale. Just look at this fascinating Reddit post from late July titled "How to Use the Dark Prince." He's more than viable in the current meta. During Season 1, the Dark Prince is the 12th most used card in Grand Challenges, with a massive 19% use rate and an incredible 53% win rate. Let's witness this firsthand by watching some crazy gameplay between two elite Chinese players ranked in the top 200 worldwide. On the bottom, we have a bold P.E.K.K.A. Prince Miner control deck, while the opponent up top is wielding the full classic P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam. Get ready, because the interactions you're about to see between these master duelists are just insane, so try to keep up. I do have to apologize, I can't read Chinese, so we're just gonna go by red and blue. Okay, so right here, blue drops his P.E.K.K.A. to start a push on the right side here. Red's gonna respond as well with a P.E.K.K.A. doing the same sided push. However, blue is going to go ahead and drop a miner on this side. That's going to draw red's P.E.K.K.A. over and make sure that his P.E.K.K.A. remains either uncontested, or red's going to have to drop another card to stop it. Drops a battle ram that's going to kite the P.E.K.K.A. on over, but the Dark Prince redirects back onto the tower with the bandit here, and this is going to do some amazing damage to the Princess Tower. We got Bats and Electro Wizard to deal with the ram on the left side there, and the Electro Wizard obviously going to be able to take care of that with the P.E.K.K.A. Another E-Wizard down, bandit on the right side, does get the draw in with that P.E.K.K.A., and it's a beautiful placement here. It's giving him a lot of time to stall, a nice poison spell, slowing that push down, getting some damage in. And we're going to see another Dark Prince in here to stop this bandit and ram push. Royal Ghost and another bandit on the left side with a snowball, going to take out Blue's bandit, trying to stop that push, but E-Wizard is going to make short work of that, and red has to do something to stop this Dark Prince, and this miner is just going to be able to cleanly take out this Princess Tower for the win. That initial push that we saw really just ensured that that chip damage was going to be able to win, and red is just barely not able to take that. Beautiful. Now, the Dark Prince's usage surged a staggering 50% from July to August, as we can see in Shane's video discussing upcoming balance changes. He pulled up Royal API's Grand Challenge data for the last 7 days, and there was the Dark Prince at number 5, with a tremendous 28% usage rate. Remarkably, the only cards ahead of the Dark Prince in usage were spells, cementing him as essentially the top troop and overall card in the game at that point. Unfortunately, this throne couldn't last forever. In September, a new balance update decreased the Dark Prince's area radius down to just 1.1 tiles.
The Dark Prince is going to be seeing a radius nerf, is going to get just a little bit smaller. It's going to go from 1.2 to 1.1. Dark Prince, believe it or not, at the time of this recording, actually has the highest win rates. Not use rates, but win rates at tournament level standard in the game out of any troop. So not an incredibly surprising move by Clash Royale to give him a little bit of a nerf. I still think he's going to be very powerful inside the meta, though.
But for the true master players, they simply adapted and kept finding success with the still formidable Prince. Now, if we go back to Shane's video, he revealed which decks were absolutely dominating the meta during this era. Crucial context for understanding what was still to come for our unstoppable Prince.
Taking a look right here, guys. This is a list of the most popular decks on the top 1,000 leaderboard in Clash Royale in the past 24 hours, and Expo by far is the #1 most popular deck in the game. It's been used for 2,700 battles in the past 24 hours over the top 1,000 leaderboard. That is over double of the second most popular deck. Expo is, guys, it is everywhere.
The well-known 2.9 Expo cycle was an absolute nightmare, smothering the competition as the de facto best deck. Players had to strategize carefully to counter it effectively. And for this exact reason, the classic giant double Prince beatdown made a ferocious comeback into the meta.
It's been a fat minute since we played Giant Double Prince, and Expo 2.9 is so strong in the meta, and this is one of the few decks that absolutely annihilates it.
It was perfectly equipped to punish and overwhelm those Expo spammers.
For an Expo, we could be screwed. Wow, I didn't even know it was in store for myself. That was really sad. So, in this situation, we could be okay, but it's troublesome. This is the worst possible card cycle in a matchup that we are heavily favored in. So, I think that we can still win, and I just want to showcase how this deck dominates 2.9, even when you get the bad card cycle, so let's make it happen. Oh, baby, I'm so ready. That's the only damage he's going to get for the rest of the game. As you're playing against you. We went all in on the left, and it didn't matter at all. So if you guys hate 2.9 Expo, this is your deck to destroy it. I told you guys it was the only damage that he was going to get for the rest of the game, and it was.
However, the meta's landscape was always shifting, as with every competitive game. With the introduction of new cards like the E-Golem and Battle Healer, a tectonic upheaval hit again. Those E-Golem decks absolutely devastating against Giant Double Prince's conventional builds. Players had to think fast and adapt their gameplay, finding new strategies to counter these powerful new E-Golem menaces if they wanted to remain competitive. Because that damned Electro Dragon was the most annoying piece to deal with, the clever Giant Prince players made a strategic swap, replacing Giant with Goblin Giant. This allowed those Spear Goblins to chip away at the Electro Drag just long enough for a well-timed Fireball to finish it off cleanly. Suddenly, those daunting matchups became far more manageable. But of course, high-level competition is never quite that simple in practice. Constant evolution and innovation was key to survival. Because remember, for every counter, there's a counter to your counter and a counter to that. So anyway, we're still at just the beginning chapters of the Dark Prince's grand saga. Everything you've witnessed so far is merely an appetizer compared to the truly epic drama that still awaits. "2020 was one of the craziest, most unpredictable years for Clash Royale. New cards and fresh strategies were constantly mixing up the meta in wild ways. But it all started with the big arrival of arguably the most irritating, unpredictable, and hated card in Clash Royale history, the Firecracker. This feisty young lady added a whole new level of strategy and skill to the game. Players had to quickly adapt their gameplay to find ways to handle her unique, disruptive mechanics. With the Firecracker reigning chaos, matches instantly became even more intense and exciting nail-biters. The stage was perfectly set for an unforgettable, legendary year of clashing. Anyway, this Firecracker lady has one of the most insane origin stories of any card. Lucky for you, I've got an epic hour-long movie all about her radical journey queued up right after that video. But for now, let's get back to the Immortal Dark Prince amid all of this chaos. One of the very first new deck combos to blow up in popularity was the brutal team-up of Dark Prince, Firecracker, and Goblin Giant. This powerful trio proved to be a total menace on both offense and defense. Before long, it became the go-to staple in countless players' decks. Players were quick to discover the pure devastating potential of combining the Dark Prince's tough shield and vicious splash damage with the Firecracker's relentless long-range chaos and the enormous tankiness of the Goblin Giant. This explosive trio became an utterly unstoppable force on the battlefield, dominating matches left and right to solidify its legendary place in Clash Royale history. Though the Dark Prince's popularity cooled off after its scorching start, he proved his elite prowess by being a key part of January's defensive best Golem beatdown deck for top-level play. A little background for you, but in the past you could secretly cycle the lightning spell without your opponent having any clue. That little lightning spell indicator we have now didn't exist back then. So if you fired it off into nothing, your opponent was completely in the dark. Crazy, right?
You know what? Let's do this right here. Let's see if he notices it. Let's see if he notices we use lightning spell to cycle.
Little clever tactics like this show how Clash Royale gameplay was constantly evolving over time, with elite players rapidly adapting to new features and mechanics to stay one step ahead. This Golem beatdown deck definitely proved to be an absolute game changer. However, just a few months later, things took a wildly unexpected turn. In June, a new balance update landed, increasing the Dark Prince's hit points by 3%. A small buff, one might think, but no. This seemingly minor tweak set off massive shockwaves, rippling through the meta. we saw a huge resurgence of some absolute classic old-school decks from the archives. Decks like the iconic P.E.K.K.A Double Prince made an explosive comeback.
We got the Prince, the Dark Prince, to tank for that mini P.E.K.K.A or that Sparky there. That's beautiful. I'm gonna just rush the bridge right now. Mama P.E.K.K.A's got everything right now. We're bridge spamming. He's down way too much. We have just 14 elixirs on the map. There's no way he can defend against this.
But there was no doubt the most popular retro deck to make a thunderous return in mid-2020 was the classic Giant Double Prince beatdown.
Good thing I have him muted because he always BMs too, which is another reason why I don't like this guy. Do we actually have a chance? Wait, did he get too aggressive? No way. Oh my gosh, we actually won. I'm not gonna BM him. He always DMs me, but I'm gonna be nice.
That modest 3% Prince health debuff ended up having a way bigger impact than it appeared at first glance. The meta then quickly shifted again with new card releases, especially the extremely overpowered skeleton dragons that completely broke the game for a while when it first added. I still have nightmares. Beatdown decks like the insane combination of Double Prince, Elixir Pump, and Skeleton Dragons took over as the dominant force. The Dark Prince's synergistic role in these heavier archetypes became increasingly strong once more.
We can walk away with the W. Let's go, baby. Let's get this W!
However, everything we've witnessed so far was just the warm-up act. The Prince's most legendary chapter was still yet to come. He was just getting started. In November, one of the most annoying new win conditions in all of Clash Royale history burst into the scene: the Electro Giant. At first, this zap-happy tank had to receive an emergency 12.5% health buff because it was considered severely underpowered, but after that massive boost, usage rates positively exploded. The Electro Giant immediately became a dominant, oppressive force, crushing the meta. Its massive HP combined with those stunning zap abilities made it an absolute nightmare to deal with on the battlefield. One of the very first decks to gain major traction was the Electro Giant teamed up with the Dark Prince, Lightning, and Baby Dragon. This combo created incredibly strong offensive and defensive synergy, allowing for brutal counter pushes. Having both air and ground support made this trio incredibly difficult for opponents to effectively defend against time and time again. Notably, whenever dominant win conditions like the E-Giant, Goblin Giant, or Spellbait tanks received buffs, the Dark Prince's usage rates surged in lockstep. It shows how just one seemingly small adjustment can send massive ripple effects spreading across the entire meta landscape. This is one of the reasons I love Clash Royale. It gives you such creativity to create your own solutions to whatever problems you might face. One of your win conditions got nerfed? Well, how can I make up for that nerf? Or what can I make my new win condition? Is there a strategy I haven't tried, a card that hasn't been used for a while but fits that one little niche that just makes everything click? Sorry, just had to gush a little bit about the game. We witnessed this in December when the Goblin Giant received a huge attack speed buff, making him a far more formidable force. This naturally caused the classic Double Prince Goblin Giant beatdown to start gaining major traction once more. These constant meta shifts demonstrate the delicate balancing act between card interactions and how one little tweak can completely disrupt the established gameplay strategy. And because of his ability to seamlessly adapt to any condition, the Dark Prince never fell from prominence again. He remained cemented as an absolutely elite card, dominating the game year after year. And now, we're getting dangerously close to 2021, a year where the Immortal Prince's reign would start shining brighter than ever before. In 2021, players were still absolutely in love with the Dark Prince's enduring dominance. Just take a look at this Reddit post. A player made a tier list ranking the best cards based on win rates and usage. And there's our Dark Prince, slotted firmly into the powerful or broke, might be nerfed category. This clearly shows his overwhelming popularity was only continuing to rise year after year, defying any predictions of him falling out of the meta. Just read these comments gushing over him. The Dark Prince is low-key my favorite card. I just love how cheesy he can be with that splash damage. I've won so many games because he splashed the tower when charging a troop nearby. The Prince simply paired well with virtually any win condition out there. We saw him teamed up with Royal Giant, E-Golem, Balloon Giant, Goblin, even Goblin Barrel, but arguably his most oppressive, game-breaking partner was the Electro Giant. The incredible offensive and defensive synergy between the Prince's vicious splash damage and the E-Giant's zapping, massive body was simply unmatched on the battlefield. Players were quickly realizing the ultimate potential of this dynamic duo. One of the most renowned E-Giant masters was Anabon, an absolute monster who consistently reached the highest global ranks, even defeating the legendary Muhammad Light. Oh hey, would you look at that? I've got more gameplay to show you. I've got a second. Okay, so right here, Anabon baits the bandit over to his goblin cage. Magic Archer is going to take it down, but he does get the baby dragon out. Ram Rider and the Lumberjack on the left side there. That rage spell is going to drop in a pretty bad spot, and a nice little fireball there is going to get some more chip damage. Beautiful tornado, but you do have the Dark Prince pushing on the right side there, able to almost take out the bandit. Not going to be enough. But another Dark Prince left side here. E-Giant on the right side. This is a massive push against Rykard here. He's gonna have to do something about that. The Ram Rider is going to bait the Dark Prince over, but again, this E-Giant is still just walking away. And, you know, some more beautiful chip damage. He does Barb Barrel there to try to stop that push, but it's just gonna be a beautiful little 500 health lead for Anabon, and that's game. His gameplays move so fast. Watching Anabon effortlessly destroy the competition with his unmatched dominance of the Dark Prince and E-Giant solidified his fearsome reputation as an absolute titan among Clash Royale's top players worldwide. I bet you thought we were done going over gameplay. We're not. Okay, so Anabon puts his E-Giant in the back right corner here, setting up a push on the right side. About to go into overtime. Remay's gonna respond with some of your goblins, E-Wizard. He's got Miner pushing on the left side there to get some chip damage. Dark Prince is gonna be able to deal with this push relatively easily. E-Giant is still pushing on the right side. There's not a whole lot that they can do. This Prince is gonna probably be able to take out this Tesla Tower if I had to guess, and that is just a massive push on both sides. You can just tell Remy's struggling to really deal with both of these strong pushes at the same time. It is a lot of offensive pressure, and the baby dragons are just able to take the win. Normally these go into sudden death, but this one was just so decisive. Anabon's total mastery over the Prince and E-Giant combo drove him all the way to the global #1 ranking in March. He absolutely dominated the game for quite some time. Just look at this insane result. He even took down the legendary Pandora, one of the universally agreed best players in the world. Now, if we look at the overall usage, Now, if we look at the overall usage stats in March, a whopping 99 out of the top 1,000 players were playing the Dark Prince in their decks. That's a fantastic 10% usage rate right there, clearly showing how incredibly strong he remained. However, this number was just the initial rumblings before a massive volcanic eruption, because the Immortal Prince's popularity was about to skyrocket by absolutely unbelievable levels. Come July, a stratospheric 456 players out of the top 1,000 had the Dark Prince as a key component in their deck. In doing the math, that is an absurd 45.6% usage rate, over 350% higher than just a few months prior. Just look at all these diverse top decks where the Prince played an absolutely pivotal role. It's absolutely insane to see. So, what in the world triggered this unexpected cataclysmic shift and the Dark Prince's rebirth? Well, we all know how the introduction of just one or two new cards can completely shatter and reshape the entire meta. Now, I'd love to let y'all take guesses at what new card arrived to trigger this absolutely volcanic surge in Dark Prince usage. It's a tough one, so I'll go ahead and reveal it. But feel free to speculate down in the comments. And while you're down there, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Huh? What? No, I didn't say anything. Alright, the card that kicked off this Prince Renaissance was none other than the Goblin Drill.
Yeah, it's a good card. You better not have Scar Me. Arrows? Wait a second. Wait a second, that's a lot of...
When first released, this sneaky drill was definitely among the most oppressively broken cards we've seen on the ladder. It enabled lightning-fast, unexpected attacks that caught people completely off guard, while creating new offensive synergies. To have any hope of countering this menace, players were forced to include a relatively cheap troop that packed a hefty splash damage punch and could easily turn defense into counter pushes. And as you could probably know, that's precisely where our beloved Dark Prince came in as the premier solution. The top 1,000 ranked ladder plays in July all received invites to compete in August's Elite Monthly Qualifier event. In this video, we're witnessing the tense final 32 players battling it out for just 8 coveted spots in the CRL. The hilarious thing is, you can find both the Dark Prince and Goblin Drill being absolutely everywhere. One of the most effective counters turned out to be teaming up Dark Prince with the E-Golem. This powerful combo proved to be an extremely effective hard counter in several high-stakes matches. Okay, so starting off our gameplay here, Ruben drops his E-Giant just to push over the bridge there, stop this queen push. He gets dropped some zappies, but he's going to respond with a tornado spell, and this is just going to let the E-Giant, do his little AoE thing, have the Goblin Cage get on to the tower here for some beautiful little chip damage. Sandbox does try to drop his Witch to deal with that, but it's not going to be enough. That's a fat amount of damage there. And, Ruben's going to respond with a Mother Witch that gets fireballed down along with some chip damage, but with the Royal Hogs that she summoned, Dark Prince is going in nice and hot, and that is just a beautiful amount of damage on this tower. And at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised if Ruben just gave up, and that is, unfortunately, what he did. Man. Moving on, the mighty E-Giant wasn't the only beefy win condition thriving alongside the Dark Prince during this chaotic time. If we look back at the most popular deck archetypes from June, we can see the Royal Giant also experienced a massive resurgence in usage rates, all thanks to that pesky Goblin Drill flipping the meta on its head. Since the Prince could reliably counter and dismantle those infuriating Goblin Drill attacks, you could seamlessly transition into a devastating counter push by slamming the Royal Giant at the bridge. Because of these powerful dynamics, we could consistently find this powerful Royal Giant and Dark Prince combo being featured in deck after deck throughout those intense August qualifier matches.
In the red corner, we've got Mini Minter versus Bruzani.
Okay, right here, Mini Minter drops his Royal Giant at the back. It's going to be pushing down the right side right there. Obviously already putting pressure just by existing by Bruzani. He's going to couple it with a Fisherman as his Goblin Cage goes out. Mother Witch is going to drop as well. Mega Minion on the right side with that Royal Giant. Barb Barrel's going to go over, tank the Inferno Tower. A little bit more chip damage with that Fireball on the right side. And here comes our boy, our love, the Dark Prince. This is just such a massive push. The shield from him is going to block that log. It's going to ensure the win, and there you go. The Dark Prince's presence during those qualifiers was simply insane. He was literally everywhere you looked. I even took this screenshot from the video to show you proof. Just look at it. On the left, we've got 2 players facing off, and on the right, another matchup, and every single one of them has the almighty Prince as a key part of their deck. Now, I went through and analyzed every single match from this epic 3-hour video to find the absolute best gameplay highlights to showcase for you all, and this is my personal favorite, a match that perfectly represents the Prince's overwhelming effectiveness against both Goblin Giant and Sparky decks. It also puts on full display just how potent that Goblin Drill could be on both offense and defense when expertly utilized. We've got Victor here, rocking a menacing Goblin Drill archetype going up against Demas and his classic Goblin Giant beatdown deck. So starting here, Demas is going to get a little bit of his tower chipped from that Fire Spirit. Does place a Tesla down to possibly defend against any push, and the Zappy plus the Goblin Giant here is definitely going to put some pressure on Victor to do something. He drops the Dark Prince down with the Magic Archer to do what he can. Skellies are going to tank 1 Zappy hit there, but that's going to be it. Everything goes down. Tornado's going to stall this push a little bit, and Goblin Drill is going to come out from Victor to try to stop that push, but it's not going to be enough. Dark Prince v Dark Prince here. One doesn't have a shield, and Skellies are probably going to be able to take him out, yeah. So these Skellies, doing their job, being DPS when the focus is on other stuff. And another cycle of the Tesla Tower there. And again, just Zappy from Demas with the Goblin Giant pushing over. Same little strategy here. Dark Prince, this time Magic Archer in a different spot, and he does have his Fire Spirit's going to pull the arrows, and the Goblin Drill on the back there is going to draw aggro, and now, of course, spawn the Gobos after. And there you go. A beautiful push set up for him already. He still has that Magic Archer up. Dark Prince does get his Charge Stop Fireball to get a little bit more chip damage onto the Zappy and that Queen or the Princess Tower on the right there. And another Goblin Giant Zappy. This strategy we see over and over and over again. That is kind of his win condition. And again, the Tesla Tower does go down without really being able to do a whole lot, but the Dark Prince does get some work in on that Goblin Giant, stopping it from really getting a whole lot done. Magic Archer with the Dark Prince tanking, able to take out that Zappy again. Another Dark Prince to start his offensive push off of this defensive play. E-Wizard's going to come out to try to stop this push, but it's going to get countered by that Tornado spell there. Minions are going to be hitting this Goblin Drill. Dark Prince does get taken out by the Mini P.E.K.K.A, but that's okay. That's a fair amount of chip damage on that Princess Tower. Tesla does come out, stop this push. Skeletons to tank for it. Usual stuff. And we have Demos popping another Zappy on the left side of the field this time. Victor just constantly getting this poke with this Fire Spirit. And another time we see this Magic Archer, Dark Prince again with the Goblin Drill, just being able to tank and just getting so much pressure off the Dark Prince, letting him do his thing. Another Tornado spell, just ripping and tearing, as always. And this time from Demos, we see Zappy, Dark Prince with the Goblin Giant. And, you know, Tesla Tower to respond, Dark Prince, Magic Archer, beautiful Tornado spell there, getting so much value out of that. That is actually beautiful. And the Zappy is still up, but I don't think it's going to be able to do a whole lot. He's setting up for another, what seems to be a bigger push, another Fireball, getting a little bit of poke damage. Both Dark Princes are going to meet up at the bridge there for their showdown, and then Magic Archer behind this one, and I think at this point, it's kind of just over. Victor just has a pretty dominating lead. That Goblin Drill just provided so much space for him to get pushes whenever he needed them. Now, as the saying goes, and we've said it before, all good things must come to an end. But that ancient adage simply doesn't seem to apply to the Dark Prince. Even after the Goblin Drill finally got some much-needed nerfs in the following months, the Prince's usage rates remained incredibly high, around 15% across all levels of play. With the game-changing introduction of Champions in November, we witnessed a massive resurgence and boost to the Dark Prince's already insane popularity once again. It just goes to show that some legendary cards like the Dark Prince are truly able to stand the test of time, retaining their core strength and relevance despite the ever-evolving meta landscape. So, let's take a look at the stats from November. It's truly impressive to witness the Dark Prince maintain his elite tier status despite all the new additions constantly shaking up the game. And what do you know, there's Audubon at the second place ranking once again. Now, if we scroll down a bit further, we can see the Prince's usage rate among top players had skyrocketed to a staggering 22%. That's nearly a 100% increase compared to the previous months before Champions arrived. But enough looking backward at the past. The Dark Prince's reign is only just beginning to reach mythic, unprecedented new heights never seen before. Beginning in February of 2022, the February balance changes brought a fascinating adjustment to the Dark Prince. While decreasing his hit points by 3%, he also gained the incredible new ability to jump the river.
Okay, Dark Prince can now jump over the river. Hit points minus 3%. Hogs can jump over, they say the same thing. Rams can jump, why not the ponies? So with this choice, you hope to bring more interesting interactions with the river and more strategic choices during the battle.
This ended up being far more of a strategic buff than a nerf, as it allowed the Prince to rapidly close distance and engage enemy troops much quicker than before. However, along with these intriguing new capabilities came some simply jaw-dropping interactions and highlights that made fans fall in love with the Prince all over again. I mean, just watch this clip. How could you not adore this charismatic champion after witnessing that level of perfection. Anyway, despite the new buff, the Dark Prince's overall usage rates remained holding steady around 15% among top players. But one particular archetype began rapidly gaining momentum and popularity above all others. The infamous P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam deck featuring the Dark Prince was suddenly dominating the meta like never before. His new jump mechanics made him an even more perfect fit, providing game-changing value against the rising Graveyard and Skeleton King decks. To showcase this unexpected deck's power, let's take a look at the gameplay of a guy called Legend Gamer. While he's no longer active, back in February of 2022, this guy was absolutely crushing the competition with his mastery of P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam. Okay, so starting here, Legend drops his Magic Archer to help deal with the Skelly King. It gets fireballed out, so he's going to respond with a Dark Prince. Shield's going to help tank it for a little bit, and the AoE onto these Skelly King there, going to take out a few skeletons as well as it. Drops a Bandit using a Zap spell to clear out the bats there. Miner does come out to stall the push a little bit, but the Bandit's charge plus the Dark Prince going to be able to hit the Princess Tower here for some damage. Dark Gobbo is going to help take that out. Does drop a Mortar on the left side here. Legend's going to respond with a Magic Archer to help clear that. Drops a Ram on the right side to put some more offensive pressure over there. Maskelius is going to go ahead and try to stop that push, not really do a whole lot. But over on the left side here, we have the Dark Prince dueling it out with the Skelly King yet again, dropping another Dark Goblin to try to stop this push. But is it going to be enough? Bandit coming in, going to get that charge off. I'm assuming we're going to see another, yeah, all right, Magic Archer taking out that mass minions. He does get fireballed out yet again, but the Bandit is just going to be on that back line, killing that Princess Tower for the win. In this next match here, we've got a P.E.K.K.A. pushing down the right side for this bridge. And we drop a Magic Archer right off the bat. Bandit and Ram on the left side. He does have the Inferno Dragon there, but that's okay. Bandit just charges off to the right side there, apparently just not caring. P.E.K.K.A. just able to tank long enough for the Magic Archer to take out that bowler. Ice Wizard on the left side, I don't think that's going to get anything done, but the Inferno Dragon, still able to take out that Magic Archer. Dark Prince does come out to deal with the Valkyrie there, and yeah, 2 Inferno Dragons are going to obviously put a decent bit of pressure. Graveyard spell on the tower here, just trying to give him space for his units to get over to this right Princess Tower, but it's not going to be enough from Thunder here. And really and truly, it just seems like Legend is not having to care a whole lot about these Inferno Dragons. A Bowler does come out again. We've got more Bandits, E-Wizard, and the Dark Prince pushing up on the bridge here. Another Magic Archer. Tornado spell actually going to clear out his offensive push a decent bit here. Another Graveyard spell onto his back tower. He's going to have to respond with something, and it's going to be a P.E.K.K.A. right at the bridge there to act defensively. And Zap spell to help, Zap Wizard to help take out the rest of the Graveyard spell there. P.E.K.K.A. is just going to do a wonderful job making space, tanking, putting pressure on the right side, while that Ram on the left side does what it does best and gets on the tower with the Bandit for a decent amount of damage. Bowler there going to try to stop that push, but he let the P.E.K.K.A. get to that tower, and that is a scary, scary thing. And Magic Archer plus Fireball is going to mean a pretty simple tower for the overtime victory. And Legend takes it again. The Dark Prince proved to be an absolutely crucial piece in Legend Gamer's P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam deck during these matches. Because of the Dark Prince's unmatched utility in this deck, the Royal Ghost ended up overshadowed and phased out in favor of the Immortal Prince for quite some time. Simply put, the Ghost couldn't provide the same consistently high level of value and impact. The core issue with the Ghost is its relatively sluggish attack speed and occasional lag issues, similar to the Firecracker. We can clearly see just how much more dominant and impactful the Dark Prince proved to be when paired with the P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam in this epic match highlighted here. It's Legend Gamer once again. This time coming up against Simo, who's using the same archetype, but opting for the Royal Ghost instead of our champ. Legend is going ahead, and I'm assuming gonna pop down his Magic Archer. Yep, Magic Archer here. As soon as the other Magic Archer targets his tower, it looks like they're just both racing to see. And there you see the bridge hop, or sorry, the river hop from the Dark Prince, able to get onto that E-Wizard and take it out. But now it's a bit of a scary situation for both sides. You got P.E.K.K.A.s on your towers, never a good look. Both trading tower for tower. However, Legend's at a bit of a health disadvantage here, but Simo still has this P.E.K.K.A. and the Dark Prince to deal with on this side. Does get the Ram out, and that's going to be going, kiting him out, fishing it a little bit over there. But, Ram gets some little bit of damage on that left Princess Tower, and P.E.K.K.A. does get just one hit on the King Tower there. But again, we got a lot of damage on that left Princess Tower from the Bandit. Dark Prince coming in getting even more damage on that King Tower. And, you know, it's looking fairly even here. Well, we've got about 2,000 HP differential on the Princess Towers and 1K differential thereabouts on the King Towers. So starting with a push on the right side here, it does look like Legend is trying to be a little bit aggressive, going for the King Tower. They're both doing this. Magic Archer, Dark Prince for Legend. We haven't seen Simo put anything else down yet. He goes for the Royal Knight. So mirror here except for the, Royal Ghost, not Royal Knight, apologies. And yeah, so the Dark Prince is able to get back here. We do see P.E.K.K.A left side for both people. E-Wizard, Bandit coming out, taking care of the other opposing E-Wizard. The Bandit on Simo's side doesn't get his charge off, and that is still a nice little ram there, putting a little bit of pressure. Royal Ghost is, able to distract Legend's P.E.K.K.A long enough for Simo's P.E.K.K.A to get in some work, but you can see just how much damage the the ram got on that right side on the King Tower. Man, 2 P.E.K.K.As, that is a scary sight to behold. Does use the Dark Prince to counter the ram there. Bandit getting onto the Magic Archer. We've got Ram to kind of counter this push a little bit, and at this point, Legend has the lead. Right? King Tower's lower. If this does go into sudden death, it's probably just going to go into Legend's favor if I had to guess. That King Tower is going to go down. Fireball on the Magic Archer. That's kind of to be expected. E-Wizard back right corner to help deal with this Magic Archer. And we do see some more P.E.K.K.A bridge spam coming out. This is definitely a scary situation to be in for both sides. Dark Prince and the Ram on the left side. While this P.E.K.K.A puts in work on the right side, the Royal Ghost does come out to try to stop this P.E.K.K.A push, but is it going to be enough? Zap Spell plus the Barbarians does get it for him. That was a beautiful little push. In the months following that initial February balance update, the Immortal Dark Prince maintained his solid position among the absolute best cards in the game with a steady 15% usage rate. Now, one very interesting trend to look at during this time was the extreme surge in popularity of graveyard decks across all levels of play. If we take a look back at the statistics snapshot from January, we can see that graveyard variants featuring the Dark Prince, Giant, and newly released Archer Queen were already prevalent. But something must have triggered an absolutely volcanic uptick in usage for this particular archetype, because this deck was about to rule the entire meta for many, and I have to emphasize here, many months to come. The question is, what key factor or addition caused such a monumental surge in this deck's popularity? This is critically important to understand, as it directly paved the way for the deck's absolute domination moving forward. Ah yes, it all started exactly 1 year prior in January 2021 with the release of the Mother Witch. When first introduced, she was drastically overtuned, featuring a drastically faster attack speed and higher hit points than she has today. This made her a brutally effective hard counter against graveyard decks. As a result, graveyard players saw their once dominant archetype fading into obscurity as the meta shifted to deal with the witch's oppressive presence. But luckily for them, a string of well-deserved balance nerfs finally cut in the Mother Witch's power throughout the year, opening the door for Graveyard's return to viability. Then in early 2022, a new balance update provided the final pieces by buffing the Giant's hit points by 4%. The nerfs to Mother Witch, Giant buff, and Prince's new mobility all came together to cause an absolute eruption in Graveyard's usage rates across every level of play. One of the absolute masters of this newfound Graveyard deck, Prince Dominance, was a player called El Patron. In January, he was already ranked an impressive 8th globally, but come February, he managed to skyrocket all the way up to the 2nd spot worldwide. El Patron's Graveyard deck Prince gameplay was so powerful, he was consistently taking down even the top players in the world with this unstoppable deck. Just look at this match highlight between El Patron and Pedro. You can see the relentless, endless pressure El Patron maintained, making it incredibly difficult for Pedro to ever gain enough breathing room to build an effective counter push. Okay, so starting here, Pedro is going to drop his mortar down. El Patron does drop his Dark Prince. He's going to get onto the enemy Archer Queen, forcing her to go invis, and the minions are going to help take care of that mortar. Taken down, and you can just see Goblin Graveyard left side here. Pedro's forced to deal with his Valkyrie. Skelly Army dropping right side. Gonna snowball both the Miner and the Archer Queen. Dark Prince coming in again to create some offensive pressure on the right side. He drops his own Archer Queen to help deal with the Valkyrie push. Valkyrie on Pedro's side to take out the Dark Prince. Norma Skellies, but El Patron already has this Archer Queen plus Giant combo going, dropping the Graveyard spell to really help secure all of this damage and some chip damage on the tower. Archer spell comes out along with a snowball to help clear out the Archer Queen there. Still trying to just deal with this Giant, drops the mortar again to try to deal with it. El Patron's already starting off his second push here. He's got another Dark Prince coming up on the left side here, another Graveyard spell, another volley of arrows coming out. Dark Prince is going to take out this mortar. Again, snowball to help deal with whatever Pedro tries to do to deal with this Graveyard spell, and Valkyrie's probably not going to be able to do it here. Another Graveyard spell and more Skellies to help deal with everything. He's trying to just lure this Giant out here with these mortars, but it's just not going to be enough. There's just no room for Pedro to do anything. But this was merely the beginning of El Patron's meteoric rise to the highest peak of Clash Royale's legends. Just a few months later, in May, he had already skyrocketed to the #1 global ranking. Then by June, while dropping slightly, he was still holding firm as the 10th best player in the world. However, Graveyard's reign of terror didn't last forever. It wasn't long before the deck faded from the prominence as the meta completely shifted focus elsewhere. But before we get into that, there's another archetype that made a huge comeback and rise to dominance worth highlighting: the classic Goblin Giant Double Prince combo.
It's gonna go in for a Dark Prince and try to kill it. I think this works out. I mean, we have enough firepower out here, and it's profound counter push. Okay, I can Fireball and Zap on top of the Electro Wizard and the P.E.K.K.A. Wait, that's so clean. Because we pushed the P.E.K.K.A. closer to us too. Double Prince, it's better than one. 2 brains are better than 1. That means double the fun. And probably some destruction for your tower. Oh my gosh.
This rejuvenated Double Prince Goblin Giant deck proved to be an extremely powerful and versatile option for players looking to quickly climb ladder and Grand Challenge ranks, completely shaking up and redefining the meta once again. But unfortunately for fans of this archetype, this glorious comeback was shockingly short-lived, as everything changed again just a couple weeks later. If we quickly glance back at the stats for September, we can see El Patron was once again showcasing his mastery, ranking at an impressive 12th place globally while utilizing the best Graveyard deck at the time. And scrolling down further, the Immortal Dark Prince maintained a strong 13% usage rate among the top 100 players that month. But now let's fast forward to the following month in October, and oh man, talk about a dramatic shift in tides. Suddenly, Graveyard's dominance had completely evaporated into thin air, and the Prince's usage plummeted, falling over 60% from 13% all the way down to just 5.5%, essentially back to being a fairly average medium usage card. And this drastic meta redefining shift, it was triggered by the introduction of a single unique card, the legendary Phoenix. Its overwhelming strengths and dominance rapidly shaped the new meta as competitors scrambled to theory-craft effective counters and strategies to neutralize this new powerful addition. The Phoenix was, by far, the most awfully broken and overpowered card ever introduced into Clash Royale on initial release. Its absurd combination of high damage output, tanky hit points, and unique self-reviving ability made it seemingly impossible to win matches if you didn't specifically load up your deck with dedicated hard counters. And since the Dark Prince was built as a purely ground-based troop, he simply didn't provide enough value or counter capability to reliably handle the flying Phoenix threat. Thankfully, through a desperately needed series of balance nerfs over the following weeks and months, the Phoenix's dominance was finally brought down as its use rate plummeted back down to reasonable levels. This rebalancing allowed the meta to finally open back up, giving other cards and archetypes room to shine again, as players could freely explore different creative strategies without living in constant fear of facing that insanely overpowered Phoenix in every single match. It was not fun. While its reign of absolute terror peacefully came to an end, the Phoenix's drastic impact and the chaos it inflicted upon Clash Royale's meta will forever be remembered and discussed for years to come as one of the most meta-warping additions in the game's history. But just as that chapter closed, new ones were already being written, because 2022's memorable saga was merely setting the stage for even more incredible storylines still yet to unfold in the upcoming year. 2023 turned out to be an absolutely game-changing year for Clash Royale, even though it kicked off in seemingly innocent fashion. Before we get into the main event though, let's give a worthy mention to a rising young star in the scene. A small YouTuber by the name of Nate. He quickly made a name for himself as one of the absolute best miner control deck players in the entire world. Nate's innovative gameplay showcases were simply incredible, consistently outplaying and defeating even the most universally recognized Mugi himself. But more importantly, we saw the classic old-school giant double prince beatdown decks suddenly make a huge surge in popularity. This time around though, these updated versions cleverly incorporated the Phoenix for an incredibly versatile and unpredictable new spin on the strategy. This rebuilt giant double prince Phoenix deck proved to be an absolute force to be reckoned with across all levels of competition, both in high-stakes tournaments and intense ladder matches, further showcasing the enduring strength of the Dark Prince's cemented legacy. However, the year's defining moment and true game changer arrived right in the middle of 2023, with the enormous new update that flipped Clash Royale on its head to the core, resulting in a radical meta shakeup and paving the way for the rise of newly emerged power deck archetypes. I'm talking, of course, of the hugely hyped up Evolution Update. Ah yes, the highly anticipated Evolution Update allowed 4 iconic cards the ability to evolve into new powerful forms: the Skeletons, Barbarians, Royal Giant, and Firecracker. While all the new evolved versions proved to be monstrously strong, the standout kings of disruption were undoubtedly the evolved Firecracker and Royal Giant. These two in particular completely reshaped and flipped the entire competitive Clash Royale landscape upside down. The new Evo Firecracker and Royal Giant virtually overnight became the top priority and auto-includes in the vast majority of competitive decks, overshadowing and sidelining many other cards that had previously been staples.
How does that connect, bro?
In short, this evolution mechanic absolutely devastated the Dark Prince's place in the meta for a period. His previously strong usage rates plummeted over 70%, down to a measly 3.6% in July as he struggled to find his place. But as we all know by now, the unstoppable Dark Prince is a true warrior that has withstood the test of time, well, time and time again. He would inevitably bounce back and regain his strength through a combination of balance changes and the release of new evolution cards better suited to slide into his archetype. The tides began turning in the prince's favor with the arrival of the powerful new Evo Knight. This heavy-hitting addition laid the foundation for the Dark Prince's glorious revival. Sure enough, come September, the prince's usage skyrocketed back up over 100% from 3.6% all the way to a solid 6.9%. He had returned to form as a staple in the meta once again. The best performing deck featuring the prince during this resurgence was the Goblin Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. Dark Prince Beatdown, showcasing his ability to thrive in faster cycle decks. If we look at the top finishes from this era, we can see that Boss managed to carry this Dark Prince deck all the way up to the 21st global rank at one point, even briefly claiming the #1 spot worldwide.
Go for my Dark Prince on the left because here's the thing, this is what I was talking about with the dual lane pressure. The reason why it's very important to go for stuff like Dark Prince in the opposite lane of your Goblin Giant when you're in double and triple is because in this type of situation it's just giving him log value, right? Because we have so much DPS down, we're able to break through, we get the win, and end up making a massive comeback. So
Boss's masterful gameplay with that Goblin Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. Dark Prince deck was the perfect showcase of how to effectively utilize and unlock the Dark Prince's unique abilities and strengths when combined with other powerful support cards. The Dark Prince's meteoric rise back to prominence in the new Evo meta served as a shining example that with strategic planning, adaptability, and skilled execution, any card in Clash Royale can make a successful resurgence, no matter how bleak the odds may seem. One particularly noteworthy honorable mention goes to a small Ian77. His innovative gameplay mastery with the Goblin Giant decks was nothing short of jaw-dropping, as he consistently defeated opponents with clever mind games and tactics, regularly securing victories with ease.
This E-Drag is kind of annoying. I'll go in for that far, but we can also arrows it down. That's why it's kind of good to have arrows. If we had Zap right now, we'd not really do anything, but this should be pretty much tower down.
Now, let's quickly revisit those September stats one more time for an important note. If we scroll down a bit, we can see that the legendary El Patron himself was mounting a fierce comeback to the top ranks, running a freshly redesigned new take on the classic Graveyard archetype. While he had only managed to grind his way up to 23rd globally in September, this was merely laying the groundwork for even greater things still to come. With the additions of the Evo Archers and the ever-annoying Little Prince, El Patron's Graveyard gameplay was about to be unleashed into a whole new stratosphere of absolute insanity. Come October, Patron had already pushed his way up to the 10th ranked position worldwide. Yet incredibly, despite the insanity of his accomplishments already, this whirlwind of destruction was still merely laying the groundwork for even greater feats yet to be witnessed. Because the true, pure madness that would redefine Clash Royale was only just beginning to take form in 2024. The year that would solidify the Dark Prince's eternal legacy, even if his usage rates had noticeably dropped from the game's evolutionary changes. While it's true we witnessed some brief spikes here and there, the simple fact remained that the Immortal Dark Prince had largely been overshadowed by other newly dominant archetypes and power cards flooding the arena during this era. In fact, if we take a look at the global stats for January of 2024 specifically, the Dark Prince's usage rate clocked in at a modest but respectable 3.3% across all players. But here's where things get extremely fascinating. Let's highlight the Dark Prince's enduring strengths at the highest level. If we isolate the stats and only look at the top 5 most used decks among the elite talent in January of 2024, we can see that the Dark Prince maintained an incredible 20% usage rate within those specific deck builds at the absolute highest level of play. This stat alone makes it crystal clear just how deceptively good and viable the Prince remained within the ever-evolving current meta landscape, despite all the latest shifts that threaten to make him obsolete. And now I'm sure you can all see where this is going. Big surprise, surprise! It was none other than the legendary El Patron himself who took full advantage of the Dark Prince's powers. It will certainly be fascinating to see if the legendary Dark Prince Master can maintain this pace and continue outperforming the elite of the elite on his warpath of global domination. However, we're still far from wrapping up the Dark Prince's epic story. In the following weeks and months of 2024, Supercell continued rolling out new evolution cards to shake up the Clash Royale arena. We saw the additions of the Evo Bomber, Evo Bats, Evo Wallbreakers, and the Evo Battle Ram hit the field. But interestingly, none of these fresh new evolutionary forms seem to make any seismic impact or drastically shift the Dark Prince's established position and popularity within the meta. Despite no longer reigning as an overly dominant archetype, the Dark Prince still managed to maintain a respectable around 5% usage rate across all levels of play, including both Classic and Grand Challenges, as well as the Ultimate Champion League. These solid represented numbers clearly demonstrated that even in 2024's rapidly evolving landscape, the Dark Prince continued staking his claim as a uniquely impactful offensive force that simply could not be ignored or completely phased out of the meta entirely. However, I think it's safe to say we haven't even witnessed the Dark Prince's true final form or full glorious resurgence just yet, because mark my word, once Supercell finally announces the hugely desired Evo Dark Prince addition to Clash Royale, that singular update is going to completely flip the whole game on its head once again. The Evo Prince's arrival will undoubtedly be an absolute meta-shattering game changer of unparalleled proportions. Brace yourself because a brand new era of Prince dominance could be dawning sooner than you think. Yeah, the Evo Dark Prince speculation and theory crafting has been swirling around the Clash community for quite some time now. There have been all sorts of interesting fan concept ideas floated, but one particular video from a creative YouTuber called Me Graphics really caught my attention. In his compelling vision, Me Graphics introduced not one, but 3 widely unique and ambitious concepts for how Supercell could potentially bring the Dark Prince into his final evolved form. And let me tell you, they're absolutely amazing ideas. The first mind-blowing concept suggests giving the Evo Dark Prince's pony a protective shield mechanic of its own, meaning the evolved Dark Prince could conceivably attack while benefiting from 2 separate yet simultaneously active shields. This genius idea would undoubtedly make the Dark Prince an even more versatile and powerful card in the arena. Another fascinating concept Mii Graphics explored was equipping the Evo Dark Prince with a 360-degree radius splash attack effect upon deployment, similar to the Mega Knight or Electro Wizard. Such an ability would solidify the Prince as an utterly dominant force when it comes to swiftly clearing out swarms of lighter troops scrambling in its path. The final unique Evo idea the video covered was giving the Dark Prince the ability to regenerate his iconic shield over time throughout the life of the match. Overall, Mii Graphics' creative Evo Dark Prince concepts are not only super fascinating, food for thought, but if actually implemented by the development team, they could absolutely shake up the entire Clash Royale meta in unexpected ways. But now I want to switch gears and direct your attention to this other must-watch video next, because in it I'll be revealing and breaking down what I consider to be the single deadliest card in Clash Royale history to date. You wouldn't want to miss it, so I'll see you there.